All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be a presenter today. It is, well, according to my computer, it's a few seconds before 11. On my phone, it says 11 a.m. Promptly. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're not going to get started on our topic here for another minute or so. We'll give some folks a few more minutes or a couple more minutes to get logged in. So hopefully everybody had logged in early enough in order to see a little bit of the movie presentation that we have about how the webinar works, the webinar control panel, what have you. If you do have any questions during the webinar, please type those into the questions portion of the event or of the control panel there. It is just me today. I do not have anybody here assisting me to answer questions, so I will try my best to keep an eye on on those questions list there. If I can find an appropriate moment to repeat the question, I'll repeat the question for everyone's benefit, and then we'll see what we can't do to try to answer that. However, again, based on us only having 20 minutes of time here together today, I may not be able to get to answering the questions until the very end of the presentation. So at any time, if you've seen what you came to see, you can leave the webinar. Thank you in advance for attending. Otherwise, I will stick around at the end of the webinar and see what I can't do to answer questions for you. Today's topic, of course, is the recording or investment value changes and how we record those. Many churches will have investment accounts of various kinds that we want to record changes in the value of those accounts, and our chart of accounts in Church Windows here accounting is no different. So we're going to pull up real quick a balance sheet here. We're going to go to reports. We're going to run a balance sheet. We're going to run it as of November, and we're going to click print. And we're talking about, of course, investment accounts that represent things like maybe CD accounts or investments, stocks, those types of accounts. I mean, it could be technically it doesn't have to be investments necessarily that we can use to cover that we're going to cover today on these. It could be things like interest on our main checking account or our savings accounts. We can do similar type transactions as those that we're going to see here today. The main thing that we're trying to make sure that we're getting across here about this is that we're simply wanting to record changes to these accounts, recording them as changes in value. We don't necessarily need to involve a payee per se. We just want to record that the account value has changed, whether that's through a gain or a loss. Okay, and so that's what we're here to discuss. As all of our accounting choices boil down to, it's all a matter of how you want to see the amount or the account or the transaction reflected on your Church Windows accounting reports. Do we want to see the gain or loss on our treasurer's report at the end of the month or the end of the year as income or expense? The answer of yes or no to that question steers us towards the proper accounts that we're going to wind up affecting on our transactions. Okay. So as we go into in this topic in depth, we're going to go up to transactions at the top left, and we see under our menu called Other. Generally these here, like we see under our menu here, maybe everybody can see that there, but we've got our second option called Adjust Asset, and in parentheses it says Deposit Correction, NSF, Stock Valuation, or Journal Entry. Those are the two transactions that we're going to wind up using to record our changes in our investment accounts. Stock valuation would be a change in value of a stock account or an investment. Both of the transactions are journal entries. I'm fond of the Adjust Asset. I'll show you here in a minute why. But again, you can do the same exact transaction using either Adjust Asset or the journal entry transaction. Okay. Again, they're both journal entries. So we have a debit and a credit account in both situations. Okay. That's what it boils down to. As a dual entry debit and credit system, we have to have balanced debits and credits. So the adjust asset or journal entry transactions will do in both of those situations. Again, the most important thing that we want to get across here is that if we're wanting to just show a change in value to those accounts, there's no payee or vendor involved, okay? So we don't need to go into the enter bills process and pay bills process in order to reflect a loss, okay? We can go to enter income if we want to reflect a gain if we wish, if provided you want to credit and say an income account or an expense, as the case may be, okay? How do we want to see those on our reports? That's what it boils down to. And so if you're unsure, then go to your board or your trustees or your finance committee or whomever and ask them, how do we want to record these changes in value on our investment accounts, and particularly our investment assets, on our reports? Okay, they should hopefully be able to provide an answer for you as to exactly what they're wanting. Okay. So in the case of, if say our committee wants to see the gain or loss on our treasurer's report at month or year's end, you would want to go into your manage accounts here, and if we go down to our income accounts here, notice we're scrolling down and we've got a couple of them here. We've got interest checking savings under income, and we've got interest, a ledger with subaccounts, interest on investments, National City Bank CD interest income, our Lynn Schwab investment income. So according to our chart of accounts, our folks are asking that we do show those gains on our treasurer's report as income. Also, that may be counteracted by on the expense side, an expense account that reflects the losses on those. So here we've got one on our chart of accounts right here. Sorry, let me get up my highlighter here. Losses on investments. Okay. How do we want to see it listed on reports? Okay. In this case, we're going to go through that. So once we've determined which accounts we're going to affect, we're going to go back up to our transactions in the top left. Let's go back in and revisit our balance sheet just to make sure that we're understanding what's going to change here. So if we go in, say, through November, and we look at right here, say, our Lynn Schwab investment account, we see a current year-to-date balance of $7,093.46. Okay. So we're just trying to make sure we're understanding how that's going to wind up changing when we post our adjusting entry here. Okay. So once we close out of our balance sheet options, we go back up to transactions, other, adjust asset. The reason why I like adjust asset personally is because a journal entry could affect any accounts. In the adjust asset transaction, one of the accounts that's involved in either the debit or the credit side of the entry is always one of our asset accounts. So it minimizes the possibility for mistakes. Okay. So, there's often a lot of time of confusion between assets and funds. In this case, it requires that under the asset to adjust menu at the top that we choose the asset account, or in this case, the investment account that we're wanting to adjust. So we're going to say we're going to choose our Lynn Schwab investment, 1 through 30, 100. Let's say it's been not a very good quarter here, so we're going to click on decrease. We're going to enter the amount of the decrease of that, so we're going to say 369.45. The date occurred on that, we're going to backdate that to October. Here we're going to enter, say losses on investments. And here down under our account, this is a very common oversight by folks, is below your comments, notice you have to choose, there has always two accounts involved in every transaction. So as much as we are crediting our Lynn Schwab investments, we have to debit another account at the bottom. So we're going to maybe choose our losses on investments expense account. And then to the right, we're going to enter our 369.45. Okay, and we're going to post that. We're not going to print our transaction, of course. And now when we go back in and revisit our report for our balance sheet, granted we're going to run it for October, but technically for November it should be changed as well, which it will. And we now notice that investment account, Lynn Schwab Investments, now shows our 672401 balance, which is the 369.45 reduction in that account based on our loss that we've recorded. Okay? You bet. We don't have to use the adjust asset. We can go into transactions. Whoops, not browse, Josh. Bear with me, folks. Transactions, other, journal entry transaction. I can still go up and choose the appropriate date occurred for the transaction. I can enter comments if I wish. Here I can still choose, let's say I want to record interest earned on my CD. So a debit to and an asset increases it. So we're going to say our interest for this period is $5.33. I can tab over. Here I can do there's my Lynn Schwab investment income. Hey, $5.33 is $5.33. So I'm simply doing the same thing I would do through my adjust asset. The difference is I could choose any account. So again, that's why I'm in favor again of using the adjust asset transaction. But again, in neither one of these situations that I've walked through have we had to choose a vendor. Okay, unlike bills, and payments that we would normally record, there is no vendor. We're just trying to record a change in our value of our accounts. So sure, I could enter comments here. Same thing, click Done, Add to Batch, and Post. The final thing I want to say about this is that some folks don't want to see those changes posted to either income or expense. So just an FYI, in either the other adjust asset or the journal entry transaction, if those changes in value, you don't wish those to affect income or expense, they're not considered part of the church's profit and loss, you can choose, say, a fund. So let's say we wanted to record an adjustment to our Lynn Schwab investment account. It's been a better month. We're going to reflect an increase in that account. We can go down and we can bypass income or expense, and we can post it directly to a fund. So if I choose, say, my Lynn Schwab investments asset is representing my education building fund balance, I can choose an account or just choose the fund directly and bypass my income or expense accounts entirely if I wish. Now again, folks, I don't want you to hear from this that we're advising you that you have to show these under income or expense or you have to post them directly to the fund. Okay? What we're simply showing you here today is that you can do either one of them if you wish, depending on, again, how you want to see them on reports. Okay? So, if again we don't want to see them on our treasurer's report, nothing says you have to. But you do have to credit. I can't increase or decrease one side of my balance sheet without equally increasing or decreasing the other side of my balance sheet. In every single one of these situations that we've talked through, it does keep our balance sheet in balance. Okay? So it's all a matter of how do we want to see it on reports. That's what it boils down to. Okay? These are just simple journal entries that we're using to adjust these accounts based on the desired reporting. Okay? I'm kind of going back to that again and again and again because that's always what it boils down to. Okay? Is how do we want it to be reflected on the reports? Certainly when I post in, credit the income or debit the expense, those are by naturally going to, by rote of their linking to the respective funds, are going to raise or lower the balance of the fund. So in this case, when I post income or expense to income or expense accounts, it is going to show it is going to reflect not only my treasurer's report, but it's also going to affect my balance sheet because income and expenses are linked to our funds. So here, if we go to, say, our treasurer's report, and we're going to run that for the month of November. Actually, let's do just October because that's when we posted our original one here. So now when we go down to our 525, sorry, it's in a different subtotal, folks, here. I didn't choose a fund, did I? Sorry, bear with me. I'm trying to find it. I'm being asked to display how this is going to affect on our reports, and I'm looking for it. So, maybe it wasn't. It should have been. Oh, there it is. Losses on investments. So right here, under our treasurer's report for the month of October, we clearly see losses on investments 525,320, 369. Nothing in the year-to-date balance, but it is reflecting on our treasurer's report. Okay, so how those accounts, then we have to look at where that losses on investments expense is linked to determine which fund it is affecting. So if I'm not mistaken, it is my education building fund. So if I choose losses on investments, right here we see on the right our education building fund, right here under fund. So the fund that would be affected through that expense would be my education building fund. And where we can see that is when we go up to, say, reports, financial, say, fund activity report. And we're going to choose consolidated selected month through October. Click print. Here now, let's zoom in. I know that's kind of hard to read for folks. But right here, we do show under our education building fund right here, a beginning balance for the month of $25,936, disbursements or expenses of $369.45, and then the adjusted ending balance for the fund. That would be reflected on our balance sheet as well. I'm also being asked, I have posted CD interest through Enter Income. How is that different in reporting? That's a really great question. It really is no different. It's just a matter of the transaction type that you're choosing. So then in this case, we're still doing the same thing that we're doing through our journal entry, except we're crediting income and debiting the asset. It's just a matter of the transaction type that we're choosing. So here under Enter Income, I certainly could choose any one of my investment accounts. So let's say we're recording our CD interest, so I can type now CD. So there's our CD interest income. Same thing, I can put in an amount that I want and enter comments, CD interest income, and simply done, add to batch, and post. And that also then has the same effect as we would crediting income and debiting our asset. That's a great question. In this case, sure, income could be as simple as going to enter income or adjust asset. Both of these transactions, all of these transactions, based on them having posted to, regardless of whether they're journal entries or enter income, based on them having debited or credited an asset, will appear on our bank reconciliation for any one of these accounts to reconcile just like any other transaction. Okay? Great questions. All right, folks, don't overthink this stuff. It's, generally in these types of situations, it's easy to want to make it more difficult than it is. In this case, we want to just simply post these simple transactions to reflect these changes in these account values, unless there's, again, some special reporting need that your folks have or want. Otherwise, these types of transactions are very simple and straightforward. Alrighty, I'm finished with what I'm talking about. We've got about another minute to go. Please type in or enter any questions that you have about recording or recording these types of transactions. I'll wait and see if anything else comes in. Otherwise, if you're leaving and darting out, thank you so much. We hope it's been helpful. Thank you, Beverly. I appreciate it. You're most welcome, of course. Yeah, Diane, I'm going to ask that if you have a question about that, please call me on support. on that. Yeah, that's a topic that is completely different on that. Please call me 800-533-5227. I'll be happy to discuss that, with you directly. Yeah, that is definitely a topic for a support call or for a different webinar. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be back on support calls here as soon as I'm done with the webinar. I'll be happy to. Please call in and ask for me. All right, folks, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in about the recording or the changing of those transactions or investment values. Um, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar unless somebody's typing in a really lengthy question here. Otherwise, we will eventually have a recording of this event on our website, on either the blog page or our new version resources page. But we hope to see you. We've got numerous webinars up through the end of the year. We'll be taking January off, of course, and we hope to see folks at another Church Windows User Group webinar. Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.